when you're moving from place to place, place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television. It is Friday, 14th March 2025, and we're coming to you live, not from the Port Mall. Can you guess where we are? We are at the Magdalena Grand Beach and Golf Resort, and we're so happy that you're here this morning. I am Adana Kumbi. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Of course, as you know, we continue to celebrate International Women's Day all week here on Tobago Updates Television, and I have with me in studio a special co-host this morning.
Good morning, Tobago. Thank you for inviting me on the show this morning. I am Crystal Celestine. Most of you know me as a financial coach and a voice for financial literacy along the island, but today I am merely your co-host. So thank you for having me.
Of course, and it's a pleasure having you here today as we continue to celebrate the woman, her struggles, her challenges, and of course her resilience, overcoming and succeeding in so many different ways. And I really want to have a long banter with you this morning about all of that, but I know we started a little bit late, so we have to head on over to the news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Adana. Here is your news in 90 seconds for Friday, March 14, 2025. The Fire Service Association head Keon Guy warns that the new A&R Robinson International Airport terminal, due to commission tomorrow, lacks proper fire coverage due to the deteriorating Crown Point Fire Station. With only one functioning fire tender and poor infrastructure, including faulty wiring and no breathing apparatus, the station fails to meet ICAO standards. Guy criticized the government's neglect, stressing the need for a fully equipped fire station. However, a senior fire officer denied claims of inadequate resources, stating that the station can handle emergencies, though repairs have escalated from 8.6 million to 28 million. Meanwhile, calls to the Chief Fire Officer, Andy Hutchinson, went unanswered. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley does not expect an extension of the SOE, stating that the police can now operate effectively without it. He defended the government's anti-crime efforts, emphasizing that crime is a public health issue and a societal challenge beyond political cycles. Despite increased gang violence and homicides, he insisted that the efforts were made to curb crime. Rowley rejected comparisons with past administrations and defended National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines, arguing that crime fighting requires more than just ministerial leadership. And finally, Trinidad and Tobago is the first of 75 Commonwealth nations to participate in the King's Baton Relay leading up to 2020's Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, Scotland. The baton begins its journey in Trinidad at Invaders Bay, St. James, with a beach cleanup hosted by the Caribbean Network for Integrated Rural Development on Wednesday, March 12th. The baton will continue its journey to Tobago on March 14th to 15th. Today, the baton is expected to visit Scarborough RC Primary, Signal Hill Secondary, and Bishop's High School. And that was your news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Biana, for all news there in 90 seconds. And, you know, of course, I want to bounce up a little bit on one of your news stories there, talking about the Prime Minister stating that he doesn't see the need for the continuation of the SOE. My question is, how effective was the SOE? And I'm very interested to see what the reports would be like, what the results would be like. Will they be doing any type of assessment in terms of letting the public know, Trinidad and Tobago know, what were their deliverables in terms of executing the SOE? Were they able to clamp down on crime? Were they able to, you know, detect much more than they were able to detect without the SOE, and even the extension that we had, I think earlier up in the year, was it necessary, and were they able to reap the rewards that they were really looking for? I really don't see, for me, where I stand, I'm not law, what do you call it, the term I'm looking for, enforcer of the law. So I can't say, but I'm looking to see what the results would be like. I don't know what your thoughts are, Biana.
Well, I share your same sentiments to exactly wait and see what the results are.
Crystal?
I agree with you, Adana. I mean, it was imposed with reason, and I feel that the public should be made aware of what was the outcome of the SOE So I agree with you.
That's right. So we have to wait to see what is going to be happening there. And I do hope that a report will come forward, because, of course, you have to be held accountable for decisions you make, especially when they impact the lives of the population, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. We want to know what were the outcomes. All right, Brianna, thank you so much for being on set with us this morning and bringing us the news in 90 seconds. And I do hope that you have a wonderful weekend as we continue to celebrate the woman.
Same to you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the morning where we celebrate with those who are celebrating. It's time for our birthday shout outs. And we start off the celebration by saying happy birthday to Shelly Henry. Shelly Henry is celebrating a birthday today, and we say happy birthday to you, Shelly. We pray God's blessings upon your life, and we do hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful birthday today. So happy birthday to you. Next is Kirby Kent. Kirby Kent is on our screen, and he also is celebrating a birthday, and we say happy birthday to you, Kirby, and we do pray God's blessings upon your life, and we do hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful birthday. And in case you also have a birthday, you're celebrating an anniversary, a promotion, a new job, a new car, a new house, whatever you are celebrating, we here at Tobago Updates Television, we join in the celebration with you, and we remind you to put God first, because He is the sole reason why there's even anything for you to celebrate. All right, so Crystal, who are we speaking with this morning on our very special set this morning here at the Magdalena?
Well, we have an interesting program lineup for you this morning. We have with us our first guest, Councillor Tashia Grace Boris. She's the Secretary of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation. So we're going to be talking about women in politics, and we're also going to be talking about the recent travel symposium, and also we will touch on the UK visa restrictions. We also have with us Verdine Williams. She is a Consumer Liaison Officer, and we're going to be talking about World Consumer Rights Day 2025. So we have a really interesting lineup. So I hope you stay tuned so that we can talk about
right. That's right. We do hope that you are able to stay with us this morning as we go through the conversations. You know, we continue to celebrate women. And of course, we've had so many wonderful guests on our program for the entire week. And so we round things up with women in politics. What do you think about that? We want to hear what you have to say. So of course, we invite you to leave your comments on our Facebook live stream, on our YouTube channel, and for those of you who are viewing on AMPLIA 102 or Flow 121 or 130, of course, we welcome you far and wide, whether you're right here in Tobago, Trinidad, the Caribbean region, the US, wherever you are. We say thank you so much for joining us. But we have to go for a break before we begin conversations in studio. And as we go, we invite you to help us share the live,
Share the live.
share the live,
Share the live.
share the
Share the
live. We'll be right back.
Tobago, let your voices be heard. The Tobago Special Needs School Committee is inviting you to a series of public consultations on Monday, March 17th, 2025 at the Signal Hill Secondary School, and Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 at the Goodwood Secondary School from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Come and dialogue with us as we aim to build a brighter future for Tobago's special needs community. For further details, follow the Facebook page of the Division of Education, Research and Technology.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With AMPLIA TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with AMPLIA's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 gigabyte fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With AMPLIA, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. AMPLIA. Do more, live more.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Springs. Contact 49SWIFT 4979438.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Right, welcome back to Tobago. And as we would have said before, we have a really good lineup for you this morning. We have with us Councillor Tashia Boris, and we are going to talk about women in politics. Good morning.
Good morning, Crystal, and good morning, Adana, and good morning, Tobago. Thank you for having me this morning.
Not a problem. You know, given that we are, putting a focus on women, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Given that politics is such a male-dominated field, what was it like transitioning into that area?
Oh, so funny enough, I actually have 4 brothers. So I'm kind of used to being in, spaces where males take up a lot of the attention. And, being one of 2 girls that my parents had, I was always the quiet one. I really love to read. I love to be in the background. I've always loved to be in the background of things. So politics was actually, let's just say it was me coming out of my comfort zone rather, because, sometimes you have a voice. It's easy to have a voice on Facebook. So you see something happen, you put up a status and then you go about your day. Who listens, who don't listen, that's their business. But, taking the decision to come into politics was really a God-led decision. And I'm on record saying that my journey has always been, God put me in this. He said, look, this is where you need to go. And whatever you need, I will supply for you to be able to be successful at that. So, being among men has been very, very easy for me because I grew up around boys. So that it's easy for me to be able to stand my ground. It's very easy for me to be able to not be afraid to be the one in the room who has the different opinion, or be the one in the room who is standing up on principle or standing up on whatever the point is. I think that what we're seeing now is that we're seeing a lot more young women taking this step to enter politics. And yesterday I was present at the special sitting for International Women's Day that spoke about period poverty, and it was an all-female sitting. And wow, Tobago has a lot of potential talent that could come to the fore in the political space, that could come to the fore in the advocacy space. So I think that, you know, there is opportunity for us to continue to encourage young people to look, or young women in particular, to look at politics as an option. I mean, there's still work that needs to be done, because I think that there's a challenge where respect comes for women in politics. I think that a lot of times when we fight the political battles, they move from the realm of political to personal. And especially when it comes to women, it could get very, very nasty. Yeah. I've seen that happen, and I've been a victim of that myself. And for me, I think that we need to be able to cultivate a society where we have to engender respect. It doesn't matter who enters the political fray. It doesn't matter what party you support. It doesn't matter what jersey you wear. It doesn't matter what your views on a particular issue are. If it is that we're not getting the basics correct, which is respect for everyone, not just women, but everybody who takes the decision to enter politics, it means that we still have some work to do where education is concerned, where we are able to create an even platform for competition. Because the reality is that you're trying to convince somebody to align with you, or you're trying to convince somebody to agree with your viewpoint. I think that women have a special role where it comes to being nurturers still in politics. You would find that a woman who's an area representative has to be a little bit more sensitive, because you're dealing with families, you're dealing with young children, you're dealing with older folks, you're dealing with persons who might be differently abled, and women have a special touch. And I think that those women who are area representatives currently, their constituents would say, yeah, my area rep is kind of like a mother figure, or kind of like a big sister figure. You know, so they have that softer touch that men don't necessarily have as a first instinct. And I think that that also gives them an advantage where politics is concerned.
And, you know, I want to jump in there where you ended the presentation there, in terms of women having the softer touch. And sometimes I would use the word accused. Women are accused of making emotional decisions. Whether we are in politics, in whatever industry, they say we use emotions to make decisions. Do you see that as a challenge or as a disadvantage? Because, I mean, if you have the elements on the inside of you, where would you run to make your decisions? And at the end of the day, we're dealing with humans. So how does that come in? And do you see it as a disadvantage or an advantage?
So I think there are two misconceptions that need to be cleared up. One, people think a softer touch is coming from an emotional place. A softer touch is part of our DNA. You know, women are created to be nurturers, created to be mothers, you know, so that's something that we can't help, right? But the other thing is that I think that people mistake passion with emotion, because I get very passionate, but trust that I'm not emotional when it comes to making decisions. I have had 22 years experience working. I've been working since I was 17 years old. And I have been in many situations that have called for me to make very, very hard decisions. And I may get very passionate about my decisions, but it doesn't come from an emotional place. It comes from a very coldly logical place. And people who really know me know that because of the background that I've had, I've worked public sector, I've worked private sector, I've worked with NGOs, I've worked with young people in communities, I've worked with young people in marginalized circumstances. I've worked at the Police Complaints Authority, and I've seen the worst of what the crime situation can give. And those situations do not ask for emotion. They ask for an analytical mind. They ask for a logical outlook, you know. To be honest with you, especially in my last stint at the Police Complaints Authority, one of the first things that they did in the training was literally say you have to leave your emotions at the door, because you're going to meet circumstances that are going to tug at who you are, and you must be able to be that person in the room who has to be able to be not just a voice of reason, but you also have to present a very, very solid front. You're dealing with people who are emotional. So you yourself, you can't be emotional. You can't get carried away when people come to you and say, well, the police shoot up my child and shoot him like a dog in the street. And that might tug at you, because I have a young son. My son is 21. And if I'm facing a mother who has lost her child, the first instinct that may come to you is, oh my gosh, I have a son. How would I feel if I was in that position? But in that moment, it's not about you. Your job is to listen. Your job is to take the facts. Your job is to be able to present that report as best as you could to the investigative team, because you are the first line of contact for the person who's making the report. And at that moment, your emotions don't matter. It's only at the end of the work day, you get to go outside and cry about something that you've heard. But while you're doing the work, there's no room for emotion. And it's the same thing with politics. While you're doing the work, there's no room for emotion. I could tell you that I have been, my personal experiences, I mean, sometimes it's comical when I hear things about my life that I don't know about. But then some of the things that I do hear are heartbreaking. And then sometimes I hear them at the worst possible moment. If I was to hear some rumor, some very nasty, vile rumor about myself, and I'm about to go on stage to speak to young people, I can't stand up there and be cursing and crying and, all emotional. No. This job demands that at every single point in time, that I am supposed to be in control of myself and in control of my emotions. I can tell you the one time that I think that I allowed it to get away a little bit. That was that famous live that I did last year. But I think that for me, that just kind of needed to happen because I just needed to vent, and to be honest with you, when I came into politics, I felt like if I had this voice, when you're on the outside and you don't have to be politically correct and you don't have to be diplomatic in your words, and you could just go on a live and say, well, I find they could have done this and they should have done that and that, and you have all the answers. But then when you get in and you realize the magnitude of the challenge that you face, and I could tell you that gets overwhelming. That is the thing that sometimes has you questioning, why did I get into this in the first place? I had this really quiet, nice job before, life was easy. But then public service is a higher calling, and, for all intents and purposes, based on the journey that I have had, I can't speak for all women everywhere, but based on the journey that I have had, certainly I have grown. The person that I was when I came into this all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and hopeful for the future. I'm still hopeful for the future, but I'm not bright-eyed and bushy-tailed anymore. And it gets easier with time. You get to learn people, you get to learn the environment around you, and you get to adapt yourself to be able to cope. In some instances, you kind of have to build a cocoon around your mental because, you're bombarded with a lot of things all over the place. And sometimes you even question yourself. But the reality is that I do not think that anybody comes into politics by chance. I believe that everybody who has been called to service has a calling on their lives, especially in this time, especially when we're called to greater, especially when we're called to create this greatest little island of the planet. Every single person, man or woman, who is a representative now, although they are human beings and they're going through their own challenges, I believe that they are there as a part of a greater calling. And it's really us on the outside to be able to understand how we can support them in their calling and how we can be able to speak life into them and to encourage them and to always, cultivate positivity in the space.
Excellent. You gave such great information there. I am actually interested in who do you follow, even in this position as a woman, and maybe women who are trying to get into the political arena. Who do you look to?
Who do I look to?
What do you read? What do you listen to the position that you're in right now?
Listen, funny enough, I grew up watching Oprah a lot, that's when, you only had 2 TV stations, TTT and TV6. Yeah. So Oprah used to come on at 6 o'clock on a Saturday. And I grew up watching Oprah. And when you hear Oprah's story, she rose from poverty, she was raped as a child, this is really circumstances that can either cause a person to go one way or another way in life. And she decided, I'm going to take all this pain and all these bad experiences, and that's going to be my fuel to be successful. And we can argue she's one of the most successful public figures there are in the history of the world. So these were the people that I saw as a child, because, that's what you're exposed to when you look at TV. But coming into politics, actually, I actually looked at former Tobago West Representative, Miss Pamela Nicholson, and her stint in politics as a woman, and being able to champion some very key pieces of legislation that changed the landscape in Tobago, and being part of a government that won a landslide victory at the time, which was something that had never really happened before. And being able to hold her own against next to the greats, Mr. A.N.R. Robinson, Dr. Winston Murray. When you hear about Tobago's political story, you don't really hear about the women politicians. So Pam Nicholson is really the person who is my inspiration. You hear a lot about the men, but she's the one that I think that, Tobago history, we need to celebrate her more. We need to talk about her achievements. I think that we also need that Tobago-centric curriculum really is critical, because our young people really don't know about Pamela Nicholson, and they don't know about some of the initiatives that she championed. For example, the Susurlands concept, where I actually grew up past the age of 12 in Susurlands. That was her idea. This Susurlands, the Lenhan, where people bought land and people helped each other build their houses and stuff. That is one of the things that she championed. She did a lot of work in youth development, in sports development, in community development, And I think that we do not celebrate our women politicians enough. So she is one definitely that I hold way up there in high esteem, you know, and even amongst those who are in the space now, I'm seeing a lot of young politicians, young female politicians coming up, and those that have been there for a little while, and everybody has kind of built a legacy and a track record. And I think that, you know, there is so much more room. There is room. The top is not crowded.
That's right.
There is room at the top. And I mean, despite what I may see sometimes as very negative naysayers in the space about Kamala Prasad's stint as Prime Minister, I think that the nation is deserving of another female Prime Minister. We do have a female president, and I think that, you know, at this time, especially where crime is concerned, in terms of the social impacts of crime, not necessarily the security implications, because, you know, we have the apparatus that is supposed to deal with that. But crime is a multifaceted problem that has to be solved. And a lot of the genesis of where crime comes from is a breakdown in the home situation. And that is why we have to try our best to rebuild homes. And that is why women become very, very important. That is why men have to play their role as fathers, not necessarily as policemen and not necessarily as prisons officers. That is when the thing has gone out the door and the baby done get thrown away with the bad water. We really have to focus on rebuilding our institutions, and it starts with the home. Because once we can rebuild our homes, then we are raising our children in an environment that is healthier for them. And that is where we have to be able to start to look at where we're going to be making some changes in society. So again, this really comes back to what is the society that we want to build? And women as nurturers have their place. Women are not supposed to be policemen. Women are nurturers. The men are the ones who are supposed to provide security, and we have to find a way to get back to this place, because I feel like if women are here and men are here, and it shouldn't be like that. We need to be like this. Men need to be seen as protectors. Women have to be seen as nurturers. And when we come back together and become the society that is raising all our children together, because it's not just about my kids, it's about the neighbor's kids, it's about the person children down the road, it's about their cousins, it's about this one, it's about that one. When we start to consider that we are all nurturers, we are all protectors, then we start to create the kind of society that we want.
And you know, I really agree with you totally, because that's what I've been saying for the entire week, especially when you speak about the role of a man and the role of a woman. And while we're celebrating International Women's Day, it's not that we don't appreciate men, but my primary thing is that the woman understands who she is. And you said it quite clearly, a nurturer, and the man understands who he is, and that we come together, because our society is only as strong as its family. And that's the core of our society. And before we go to a break, I just want to find out from you, in terms of your position in politics as a woman, a strong woman with a strong voice and a strong position, what is the type of impact you want to make, especially on women as they come up in whatever industry that they want to come up in, or even if they want to be homemakers? How do you want to impact their lives?
I can tell you that over the last 3.5 years, I went through this roller coaster, because there was a point in time that I felt as if strength was a curse. You know, when people say, oh, you're so strong, that doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean that I am not close to breaking point. What you see maybe is the face that I put on, because you have to kind of be out there and you always have to project your best self. But you're not always feeling your best. And then people automatically assume that because you look your best all the time, that somehow you are immune to all of the things that are happening to you. And you know what I recognized? I recognized that strength has its place. Yes. But I think that I also had to learn to be patient with me and very, very forgiving of me. When you have very high standards, when you set high standards for success and you fall short, we have a tendency to want to beat ourselves up. And I am my own worst enemy when it comes to beating myself up if I feel like if I've fallen short. And even the society that we operate in, you can't fall short today that you do something nice, they clap you tomorrow. You can be public enemy number one. They will boo you. That's right. No. When I think about the story of Jesus and Barabbas, one day we're saying, Hosanna, Hosanna, and the next day they say, give us Barabbas. So that is the nature of politics. You know, one day you're the savior and the next minute you're the crucified. But you have to be able, as a woman, to be very, 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 very supremely sure of who you are. Your validation cannot come from any place external to you. From the time you are looking for somebody else to tell you you look nice, for somebody else to tell you that you did well, for somebody else to tell you that that thing that you said was a really nice thing, the next day when they're not saying that thing, your self-esteem plummets to the ground. Your validation can't come from outside of you. You have to understand, accept, and always project that you are enough. And you have to know that you are enough. That you woke up this morning, you got out of bed despite the fact that you were feeling pain. Kudos to you. You were able to get 10 things done out of a list of 15. Kudos to you. You were able to juggle 1, 2, 3, 4 different things, but you left 1 or 2 things for tomorrow. Kudos to you. You can't look outside of you for validation, because from the minute you look outside of you for validation and the day that it's not there, that affects you negatively. You have to be able to get to a place where, one, you believe, not just know, but you believe that you are wonderfully and fearfully made. Nobody needs to tell you that. God made you special. There's nobody else like you on the face of the earth. 2, nobody else can do it like you, whatever it is. There's something special about you that nobody else can do. There's something special about you that you alone bring to the table. And thirdly, the most important validation that you need to seek is validation from God, nothing else. Because man is fickle. Man will love you today and they go hate you tomorrow. Man will come and man does go, let them know. Chanel did sing that, you know. But being able to know, to really, really fall in love with yourself. And that's what I learned over the last 3 years. How to fall in love deeply with myself. So that nobody could come to me and tell me anything about me. And I say, you don't know me, I know me and I love me. So if what you see and you don't love, well, all right, no problem. We go fix that some other time. Yeah.
Wow. Absolutely amazing. Especially in the end, they're really pouring sound advice to all of you viewers this morning. You have to love yourself. You have to know who you are. You have to be confident in yourself and show up for yourself.
Yes.
And even if, as Counselor said, even if you didn't get everything off your to-do list, even if you get one done, pat yourself on the back, celebrate yourself. Yeah. I mean, we are women. We have so many things we have to juggle. We have to be mommy. We have to be doctor, teacher, lawyer, cook, nurse, everything.
Washer.
That's right, you know, fight partner, all these types of things. So, you know, celebrate yourself, celebrate yourself, celebrate yourself. That is what we are supposed to be doing so that we could move to the next level. Don't beat up yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. Be soft, be easy, be gentle on yourself. Yes, you have goals, and yes, you're going to achieve those goals, but be gentle on yourself. We have to go for a short break before we continue conversations here at our studio at the Magdalena Grand Beach and Golf Resort, and we do hope that you could stay with us. And as you stay, we invite you to help us share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
The Tobago Rhythm and Soul Festival. Feel the beat. Embrace the calm. On Easter Weekend 2025, Tobago is the place to be from April 17th to 20th. The Rhythm, the Soul of Tobago. On Thursday, April 17th, get ready for a worship experience at the Shore Park Complex with Melodies from Heaven. Melodies from Heaven. Then on Saturday, 19th April, immerse yourself in the sun, sea, and sand at the Buku Seafood and Jazz Festival, featuring legends of R&B. On Sunday, 20th April, we bring the the curtains down at Parade Grounds, Dwight York Stadium for Fusion. Get your tickets on island8tickets.com now or visit TobagoFestivalsCommission.com for more info. Tobago Rhythm and Soul Festival 2025. Feel the beat. Embrace the calm.
Tobago, let your voices be heard. The Tobago Special Needs School Committee is inviting you to a series of public consultations on Monday, March 17th, 2025 at the Signal Hill Secondary School and Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 at the Goodwood Secondary School from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Come and dialogue with us as we aim to build a brighter future for Tobago's special needs community. For further details, follow the Facebook page of the Division of Education, Research and Technology.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. Listen, we're having so much fun in our studio this morning. We have so much fun. The conversation is so deep yet so light, and I do hope that you are able to get something, even if it's a little bit from it, to take away, to add to your life, to make your life easier and better, and to see the value of who you are as a woman. Yes. We continue conversations this morning with Councillor Tashia Grace Boris in studio, and listen, this woman could talk, and when I tell you she could talk, no, listen, I know you're laughing, but there's substance. When we were off camera, I wanted to script everything down, and I'm hoping that the production team was recording what she was saying. You know, Councillor, we were talking so much about understanding who you are as a woman. And Crystal, you were even saying that women should understand that there's a space for you anywhere. Anywhere on the globe, there is a space for you. And I want to touch a little bit on that. You know, women understanding that there's nothing that is exclusive. That you can be a part of whatever you want to be a part of. I mean, especially the nurturing side of you. I want to focus on that. I don't want women to feel, okay, well, she said that I could be anything, so let me go and be.
I think you know, I don't know if people know my story, because I have said my story many times, but there may be some people who still don't know. I mean, I went to Bishop's High School. I was valedictorian of my graduating class. And less than a year later, I was pregnant. I was 17 and I got pregnant. And you would think that deciding to have a child at that age would be the life-ending decision. And certainly, I think in my 17-year-old mind, if I look back on it, one of the things that I had, I felt at the time was this fear that I would never be able to overcome that circumstance, that I would always be the person who got pregnant at 17. And despite the fact that, you know, I got all my subjects, I got my distinctions, I was supposed to go to university, the decision that I took at that time was that I wanted to have my child, you know. So, I mean, if we're having a conversation about even women's bodies and decisions on reproduction and stuff, you know, you can go into different realms. People can decide to have children and not decide to have children for many different reasons. And this is not an opportunity to bash anybody who has decided to make another decision. But the decision I made, and the decision that I chose to stick with, was I was going to have my child. So I had my son at 18 years old. And even then, for me, the question that I had going through my pregnancy, dealing with the ridicule in society, dealing with people looking at me and saying, oh, this child looks 12, how is she pregnant? You know, yes, I got pregnant the regular way, you know, you know. But the thing is that, you know, having dealt with all of that, that in and of itself helps you to become resilient. Because now you really have to be able to insulate yourself from the opinions of others. Because if you really live your life based on the people's opinions of you, you never move past the thing that is standing in front of you that can look like a gigantic obstacle. And at the age of 18, a gigantic obstacle could be having a child. But even then, for me, I felt that with all the things that the Lord blessed me with, my abilities, my intelligence, I could not let that go to waste. And for me also, I had to demonstrate to my son, I had to show my son that despite what circumstances life throws at you, that you have the power to be able to change your circumstances. Right. And that is why I put my child on my hip and went to university at the age of 19. And I was going to university on a weekend. I wasn't going to school full time. I didn't get the UE full time experience or whatever. I was working in the week to take care of my son. My parents were there as a support system. But every Friday night I was on the boat going to Trinidad, getting to Trinidad 4 o'clock in the morning. No place to stay. I have to sit on the promenade to wait until the sun come up to go to class for 8 o'clock. So whereas all my classmates rolling out of the bed 7 o'clock to jump in the shower to head up the highway to come to St. Augustine, I in town since 4 o'clock in the morning. Can't sleep from the night before because I'm on a boat. And I had to show up to class at 8 o'clock every morning just like them and give 101,000% because I was coming from Tobago. I couldn't afford to fail. I was paying for my education. I couldn't afford to fail. I got a scholarship, yes, so I was partially funded. But I had to make the sacrifice to go to school for 3 years on a weekend because I could not afford to go to school full time because I had a son and I had to work. So it means that there was no luxury to resit an exam, or there was no luxury to do over a course. I had to knock everything from the first time that I tried because it wasn't just about me. My child was dependent on me. So that when I graduated, my son was front row at 5 years old, watching his mommy cross the stage. And that was one of my proudest moments back then, being able to show my son from very young that nothing can stop you from being your best you, regardless of what obstacles come in life. When I worked at the Police Complaints Authority, my co-worker was actually Vera Bajan. And I was able to see, and I met her actually twice in my life. She wouldn't remember, but we had a school trip when we were in fifth form and we visited St. Augustine where she was a student, and I met her there as a fifth form student. And then I also later in life ended up working with her at the Police Complaints Authority. And when I look at what she has been able to accomplish, you could tell me that people out here with full arms, full legs, full faculties can't accomplish the same things. And she has been able to do so much. She's a lawyer. She's celebrated. She has no hands. She has no legs. What is your excuse? That's right. You have the same 24 hours in a day that she has. You have the same 24 hours in your day that I have. You have the same 24 hours in the day that anybody has. What are we doing with it? So that despite the fact that that was something that happened to me in my life and a decision that I took, that has always been my fuel. To always demonstrate to my children that nothing in this life should stop you from becoming the best you that you can be. Whatever that you is. Because a lot of people might have thought, oh, I should be a doctor, I should be a lawyer and whatever. And then I got pregnant. It's like, oh, she's just gonna, be somebody's child mother. No, I have 2 beautiful kids. And that is, mommy is one of the proudest titles that I hold. But at the same time, I have a bachelor's degree. I also have a master's degree. As I said, I've worked for the last 22 years of my life. So there's life after politics for me. You understand? People think that sometimes when you get into these positions that this is the apex of where life can take you. But as I was saying when we were on the break, the mountain is as big as you want to make it. Right. So we've climbed this mountain. I've gotten the opportunity to represent. I've gotten the opportunity to demonstrate to the people of Tobago what I can give. I've gotten the opportunity to demonstrate to the region and to the world that great things come out of Tobago, because I could tell all your Tobago a good name out a road, right? Your secretary did an excellent job building our profile internationally and regionally, so that the next Secretary of Tourism, whoever that person is going into that role with very solid partnerships with international partners, the Caribbean Tourism Organization, the International Development Bank. They're walking into this space respected, because in the region, Tobago is seen as an equal. We're not behind Trinidad. We've come out of Trinidad's shadow. And that's because we've worked so very hard to establish our identity outside of Trinidad and Tobago. So that whomever that person is, whether it be myself or somebody else, they are being left with a very strong legacy to be able to build on. And that is what I want to see. My next chapter, I'm excited about it. Whatever it is. You know why? Because the Lord didn't tell me what that is yet. Yeah.
Right.
So until such time as he comes and says, look, this is the next thing that I want you to do, I will continue to do my best where I'm at now. And then when that time comes, I am excited to say, God, you just show me where you need me to go. And I'm going to go up there and show up the same way that I've been showing up. You know, so the most important thing that I think that people need to take away with is that your circumstances do not determine your value. And it doesn't determine where you end up in life. You determine where you end up in life. You make a decision, you want to climb that mountain, it might take 1,000 years. But if you decide every day to take one step towards that goal, is one step more than where you were the day before. Decide what you want for you. And I think that we have to start to take charge of our lives.
Right.
I think one of the challenges that I've seen in representing people is that a lot of people leave it up to an area rep to solve their problems. So your roof leaking, let me call the area rep. The drain needs to clean, let me call the area rep. The sidewalk needs to power wash, let me call the area rep. I need food in my house, let me call the area rep. Okay, yes, you can call the area rep. But a lot of times, I think we need to ask ourselves, how am I taking responsibility for me?
What can I do? Yes.
What can I do for me? How can I, and we have to be able to be, what's the word? We have to learn to help each other again. We have to get back to that place.
Yeah, the sense of community.
Yes,
so
we have to get back to that place.
Yeah.
We have to get back to that place. Government doesn't just exist in the THA, you know. At the level of the community, you have village councils, you have NGOs, you have sporting organizations. There's no reason why anybody in our community should be hungry.
Right.
Because between the church, the village council, the sporting organizations, and all the people who are supposed to care about people, no old person in our community should be hungry. Because if I cook food for my family and I know Miss Mary up the road need a meal, what stops me from taking some food up the road for Miss Mary? This is how we used to live before.
That's right.
30 years ago when I was a young child, my parents have never called an area rep in their life. Why? Because they know that when they make children, they had to row their boat. And that is how I grew up. When you make children or when you have responsibility, you had to row your boat. Nobody outside of you is responsible for your responsibility. You're responsible. So that we have to get back to the place where we are taking responsibility from us for ourselves. Not saying that there's no need for help, because yes, there are places where gaps exist and we need to put systems in place to be able to address those gaps. But I think that Tobago is small enough. We're still small. We're not massive. We're still small enough to be able to take care of one another. And we have to go back to that place where we want to take care of one another, that we care about each other. Because the day Tobago could get back to that place, all this crime and stuff, we will arrest this. All these social ills, we will arrest this. All the challenges we're having with children in schools, we will arrest this. All of the things that we can solve as human beings, relationships and how we relate to others, we would arrest these things. The bigger things we may not have too much control over, but the little things we certainly can have control over, and we're able to successfully arrest in life.
You know, I wish we had all morning long to continue this conversation, because you're saying so much and you bring in so much value to the conversation. But for me, the one thing I am going to take away from what you said, you were very practical in the advice that you were giving in terms of celebrating yourself and honoring yourself. And right here, you're saying, tourism is in a good position. The secretary did an awesome job. This is you celebrating your win.
Yes,
and I am going to take that away.
And this is not about me being vain or anything.
And that's what I'm saying.
Let me tell you something. Let me give you a practical example. Because Tobago had never shown up before at the level of the Caribbean Tourism Organization. And that's why even as much as the minority likes to belittle me and belittle my accomplishments and, you know, tries to throw sand in the rice and stuff, I don't have no time to see. I know the reality. When Tobago walks into the room at the level of the Council of Ministers meeting, now mind you, Trinidad and Tobago is a member country, so they recognize Trinidad and Tobago. But Tobago, because we have responsibility for tourism, we can show up as proxy. They don't call me Secretary Boris, you know, they call me Minister from Tobago. That's just to tell you how much from day one, since the first time I showed up in 2022. And at the time, a woman was at the helm of the CTO. It was Minister of Tourism, Barbados, Miss Lisa Cummings. And I mean, I may not get the opportunity to thank her in person, but she was the person as a woman. When I went into the room as a new secretary, we were in the Cayman Islands. I didn't know anybody. She, as a woman, grabbed my hand and said, look, let me take you and introduce you to people. And that is how women fix each other's crowns. Right. That is how women extend their hand to help. She was the person. She looked at me, young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, scared, a little nervous. And she said, come, Come, minister, let me introduce you to the other ministers. Come, let me introduce you to the CEO of this airline. Come, let me introduce you to this managing director of this hotel. Come, let me introduce you to this owner of this store company. She, as a woman, was the person who took my hand and introduced me. And that is what we need to do as women.
Definitely.
We have to hold each other's hands.
Right.
And then when she gave me that opportunity, it allowed me to now use the voice that I have. And when we would have discussions, I would stand up and say, well, look, Tobago is a small island developing state. This is how something like this would impact us. This is how I perceive the situation. This is how I see this thing could go. And I started to contribute so consistently that when things would come up, they would say, Minister of Tobago, what are your opinions? Can you weigh in on this matter? And that's what they call me, Minister from Tobago. And I'm saying that that's not the title, yes. The title is Secretary. And as much as I correct them and say, well, you know, it's Secretary. No, you're the Minister of Tobago. Because in their minds, Tobago is side by side. Tobago is not seen as lesser. Tobago is not seen as anybody's little sister. Tobago has earned its place at the table. Tobago has a place at the table. Tobago has a voice. Tobago has been making contributions. And as I said, because of the work that we've done in strengthening those partnerships, because of the work that we have done in creating new partnerships, because of the work that we have done to sell the gospel of the greatest island on the planet far and wide, I'm excited for the next chapter for tourism for Tobago. Yes, we're having the practical completion ceremony for the airport tomorrow, and we know that the operationalization of the plans is going to take some time. But when it's fully opened and we can fully realize the benefits of what that would bring, I am excited. We know that there are some things in this space right now that are hampering our ability to increase our numbers. These new restrictions with respect to visas that is taking place with the UK situation. Obviously, we're monitoring it very, very closely because the traffic is not just inbound in terms of people who are visiting, but it's also outbound people who are visiting. We are paying for airlift. So that has implications for us from a financial perspective if we cannot sell the loads going out as we could have because we no longer have that outbound traffic coming from the local population. These are things that we have to look at. We have to look at the impacts of the SOE. We have had impacts coming out of the SOE. I could tell you that as much as we know English language, I think sometimes we forget that when we're dealing with other languages, we may say, no, it's okay, everybody's fine, you know, everybody's moving about and doing their business normally, Tobago is fine. But in some other jurisdiction, when they look at the whatever the advisory is, they are translating that literally to what their language means, which means that in that translation, they're saying that blood is running in the streets and gangs have taken over. So that we can't take these things for granted in the tourism sector. It is such a dynamic space. That is why we always have to remain very present. We always have to be very proactive. We always have to sometimes plan for chaos. Because the reality is anything can happen. A shark can bite someone in the morning. Nobody planned for that yesterday. We can have very bad weather crop up all of a sudden. We may have plans for that, yes, but we don't know the fallout. So that we always have to be in a state of readiness. I can tell you that being in this job has really, you know, the person that I am now is the best version of me that I've ever been. And I can't wait to meet the 2.0 version of who this Tasha Grace Morris is. I am thankful and grateful for the opportunity to have been able to just serve the people of Tobago and to show them who I am and to show them my heart. I've always led with my heart. I'm one of those few people that you could guarantee that I will tell you what's on my mind. But certainly it always comes from a place of love. It always comes from a place of what is the best possible outcome that we can get for everyone involved. And, you know, I always want to see people do their best. That's the most important thing. I want to see the best because I see the best in you. You might see the best in yourself, but I see the best in you. And that's why sometimes I'm very hard on people because I know what I see in you. I know what you're capable of. I see your ability to be able to rise and to give and to give and to give and to give. So let's all give of our best.
Correct.
And we have to continue as I think as leaders and as women in particular, we have a way of motivating. We have to continue to be motivators. You know, we have to motivate our men. We have to motivate other women. We have to motivate our children. We have to be, you know, it's a lot.
Yes, it's a lot. It's a
You
lot.
know, so when you see me buying wine in penny savers, don't stress me.
Of
You know,
course.
when you see me take my little day on the beach in my short pants and my flip-flop, just understand that I need a little break, because sometimes, you know, you need to just literally give yourself some grace.
That's right.
And that's why I particularly love my middle name. When I was growing up, I hated my middle name. I used to get teased mercilessly. They used to say Grace Corned Beef and Grace Ketchup. But now I realize that, again, nothing happens by chance. You know, Grace is the epitome of what I try to exude at all times. I call it gorgeous, resilient, accomplished, caring empress. That's the Grace
right.
effect. Yes. So I try to, you know, always project the Grace effect. And the Grace effect applies for every woman. You're gorgeous, you're resilient, you're accomplished, you're caring at heart, and you're an empress. Don't forget that.
Absolutely amazing, amazing stuff. Thank you so much for coming this morning and bringing all that lightness to the space.
Yes,
and you know, women,
I have so many takeaways.
I know.
I wish I had my book to write down.
I know.
At some point.
We have to go back to this recording, and you know, even if you didn't feel special for the entire week, we've had so many guests in studio. We've been speaking about women's achievements for the entire week, and if you didn't get anything this week at all, today was your day to get something. So grab something and go, and ensure that you show up as the best version of yourself.
Celebrate yourself.
That's right. Celebrate yourself. Give yourself some grace. You are human. You are woman. You are beautiful. You are strong. You are also soft. You are gentle. You are to be loved. You are to be celebrated. You are to be cared for. So take good care of yourself. Love upon yourself.
Yes.
And then share some of that love with the people around you, so we can all start loving ourselves and ensuring that our societies are stronger and better because of who you are. Thank you so much for staying with us, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we have to end the morning show on Tobago Updates Television, but it's not where we end our programming. We head on over to GMT this morning, and as you go, we invite you to help us. As you share the live, I want to say before we go, thank you to all of our co-hosts for the entire week. Thank you for all of our guests for the entire week. And we do hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Good morning. I am Lisa Mohammed, Guest Services Supervisor, on behalf of management and all of us here at the Magdalena Grant. Welcome. Also extending to all our leading ladies, hardworking on a daily basis, a happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day to all the women in Tobago and out throughout the world. The theme this year is Accelerate Action. And that just simply says supporting the women and young girls in whatever that they are doing. We not only, besides supporting, we need to get together, embrace each other, and go out there
and do what is supposed to be done to assist all women and young girls.
This year's theme for International Women's Day is embracing equity, and as you can see, we are embracing equity at this point in time where all the ladies from the various services are together here at the Tobago I Love Tobago site.
Good morning to all of Trinidad and Tobago. I am Lisa Hamilton, Acting Lieutenant Fire Officer Lisa Hamilton, and I am a first female in the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. We trained on the 1st of December 1992, and I'm still here representing the first female in the organization. Female for the Women's International, it means a lot to me because women have been part of the backbone of this country, whether we acknowledge it or not. But we are. We exemplify power, also control, where we are part of the system in this country where we simplify things. People don't see it that way, but we bring simplicity to complexity. And we are here breaking the glass ceiling, going forward for the future in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.
3615 Firefighter Roberts attached to the ambulance section fire service.
Number 4365 Firefighter Divines attached to Blue Watch Scarborough, Tobago Division. We are celebrating Women's Day. We just want to say that woman is power. We are here to show our dominance and woman all the way. Thank you.
Hi, so today we had an awesome day. It was eventful. We met a lot of women who continue to break glass ceilings, who continue to carry the stance and thoughts of women, who continue to move away from detractors and naysayers. So we would have learned a lot. We would have met, as I said, beautiful women, and we encourage them to continue to strive always for excellence.
in your face. You know, some years ago we were having this scare where
the batteries, the batteries.
So it's not supposed to, you're supposed to buy goods that are safe for you to use. And with keeping in mind the theme for World Consumer Rights Day this year is a just transition to sustainable lifestyle. So if the phone is not safely made, it could be where it's not going to be safe for the environment and safe for you to use. So this is what Consumer International and Consumer Affairs, we are advising persons that whatever you are going to purchase is supposed to be something that is going to be safe for you to use and also safe for your environment, right? That's one of the first rights. The second right is the right to be informed. And that speaks for itself. It's where whatever you want to know about a product, you're buying your stuff online, you're buying it online, you're supposed to know about it. You're supposed to have information.
Where it's made,
where it's
the ingredients.
What are the ingredients? Right. What, would it be harmful for you to use it? Would it be harmful to the environment? No, I'm trying to tie in everything to the team here. A just transition to sustainable lifestyle. So you're supposed to be informed. That's one of your other rights. That right was also coined by John F. Kennedy, right? The right to choose. Personally, I think this is one of the biggest rights, if not the biggest right. The right, you're supposed to be able to choose what you want. Who knows better what you want than you? Right. The right to choose whatever you want. The right to choose the environment in which you are. The right to decide that I want to live in an environment that my children or my descendants are going to be able to enjoy. And this is where the team ties in again. The right to choose is a powerful right. Now, the right to choose ties in with shopping around also. When you're shopping online or you're shopping online, you're supposed to look around to see what is the best thing for the money. Yes. That's it, your options for the money you have. You might have $100 to spend on an item, but you like something that is $150. No, you would have to choose something that is within $100, right? So the right to choose, I think, is very powerful. This is one of the most powerful rights that we have. Right. We also have the right to be heard. Now, these first four rights came from John F. Kennedy, right? The right to be heard is one of them. That's the fourth one that he would have coined. Consumers, we are noticing that quite a lot of business places are not giving consumer the option to air when they purchase something that did not work for them or has a manufactured defect. And that's a right that we have also. You're supposed to be able to go back to the place you purchased the item and explain that this is not working for what I wanted to work for. That's a right we have also. Okay, so that's the four rights that John F. Kennedy would have coined. The right to be heard, the right to be informed, the right to safety, and the right to choose. Now, in 1983, and those were in 1962. In 1983, the United Nations recognized that there are some things that are not covered by those four fundamental rights. So they would have coined four more. And they would have coined like the rights to the satisfaction of basic needs. Our basic needs are food, clothing, shelter, right? The right to that doesn't mean that somebody's going to give that to you. It means that you should have access to it. So wherever you're living, your leaders or the persons who are managing the country supposed to make that accessible for you to get your basic needs, right? This is one of the big rights that most consumers remember, the right to redress. That deals with when you buy a phone or you buy an iron or you buy a pretty shoe, you know, we ladies, we like shoes. You buy a nice shoes, you try on the shoe before you left the store, you walk around in the shoes, make sure that the shoes is comfortable, it's not too high, it's not too low, and it making our feet look, you know, because we like shoes. And you go on with that shoes now, and the very first time you wear the shoes, remember you try it on and walk around, right? Because we advise you to do that. Try on all shoes that we are going to be purchasing as women, men too. Walk around in it, see how it feels, and we advise you to buy your shoes in the afternoon period. When you buy them in the morning, our feet are not as, you know, accustomed to moving around in the afternoon.
Take some adjustment.
Yes, in the afternoon period, your feet are a little more swollen because you're on your feet for the entire day. So you buy your shoes in the afternoon because you get to feel the comfort of it. You go on with the shoes and you wear the shoes for the very first time. It unstick. You're going back to the business place and you explain it to them. This is not supposed to do that, you know, because the shoe's supposed to be able to wear for a period of time and it's looking good and, you know, and doesn't unstick. And they decide that they don't want to compensate you in no way. That's where the right to redress comes in. You are supposed to get just redress for an item you purchased that did not work how it's supposed to work. It had a manufactured defect within that a reasonable period of time. You should get that redress. And consumers remember that, because this is why most complaints comes into our office, because they are looking for redress. Okay? So that's the 6th right. The 7th right we have is the right to consumer education. And this is where my office comes in, or where myself comes in. So we would go to different groups, maybe schools or any type of group, government offices, church groups, any particular groups at all that wish to get information about your rights and responsibility, or about a matter that is probably trending right now, and we'll be able to speak to you on that. That's another right that is designed to make sure that where you are living, that is provided for you by the authorities. Okay? The last right we have is the right to a healthy environment. This is where the theme for this year really impacts on what we are doing as consumers. We are supposed to ensure that our environment is healthy where we are living. So that means whatever we are doing in our environment is supposed to be maintaining the environment at where it's at, if it's healthy, or making it better. So it's supposed to be sustainable, right? So this is the last right that consumers have. And World Consumer Rights Day, we want persons to become familiar with these rights, learn the rights, learn how they apply to you, what you're going to purchase, see how that right is going to apply to that relevant situation, and practice it. Now, along with the rights, although it's World Consumer Rights Day, there are responsibilities. So you as a consumer are supposed to be responsible. You're responsible for shopping around. So whatever you're going to choose now, you're responsible for shopping around to make sure you make the right choice. If you bought an item and it's not working how it was designed to work, it has a manufacturer defect, you have the right to redress, but it's your responsibility to go back to the business space you would have purchased the item and explain to them in a respectful or dignified or professional manner, and speak to managers or supervisors that there's something wrong with this item. So along with all our rights, we have responsibilities. Those are 2 of them. It's our responsibility to ensure that our environment that we are living in is maintained healthy. It's our right to a healthy and sustainable environment.
But we have a part to play.
That's it. We have a responsibility there. So all of the rights have a responsibility. The right to be heard. This right ties in with wherever we are living. We want to make sure that our voices are heard by the policymakers. So the persons who are going to determine that we should be getting water once a week or twice a week, or the drain should be cleaned every day, or the road sweep every day. We should have access to free education, or we pay for our education. So we as consumers now have to speak up. And our voice, with the team that we have in mind, our voice is now supposed to ensure that the policymakers should be hearing our voices. We are supposed to do it in a proper manner. So probably we may want to form groups and speak up with whatever areas that concern us. The policymakers can now take that into consideration when they are making the policies. That's our responsibility.
Right. I have a quick question. I know time is going, but it's one thing to have a right. But what about breaches to those rights? How are we as consumers supposed to manage when there are breaches in the rights that we have as consumers?
That's where my office comes in.
Right.
We are at the Consumer Affairs Unit in the Victor E. Bruce Financial Complex. If you feel one of your rights were breached, and we would advise you first to speak to managers or supervisors wherever that right was breached. And if you're not satisfied with the services or the redress that you're getting, then you come to us and we would now negotiate on the matter for you. I'm saying negotiating because something that it has been around for a while. The laws that exist to protect consumers are quite archaic, and unfortunately consumers are not voicing themselves enough to get those laws become with the times, the digital times.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying negotiating. So we have to negotiate with the business person that your right would have been breached to get some form of redress for you. Okay? The right to be informed. Whatever we are purchasing, whatever we are doing, where we live, even where we live, we have the right to be informed. Some years ago, if you remember, I don't know if you may recall, there was a time when they wanted to bring a certain industry into a certain area. And consumers there, or the villagers there, or the persons living in that area was concerned that the off product would be harmful to the environment. They made themselves be heard. They were informed on what was going to take place by the relevant authority, and they made themselves be heard, and I think that was scrapped. That didn't come about. The right to safety, as I would have said, that whatever you purchase, now it's your responsibility to make sure you read and you know everything about what you are purchasing to ensure that it's what you want and it's not going to harm you. So that's about it in a nutshell.
You know, basically, I mean, there's a lot of information, and of course, we do have the responsibility equally to the rights that we have. In terms of the Consumer Affairs Unit, is there anything that you are doing to commemorate Consumer Rights Day tomorrow or anytime during this period?
What we are doing right now is what I'm doing. So reminding
public education,
yes,
right?
We are reminding consumers of their rights and responsibility. On Monday, pleasing God, we are supposed to be on one of the radio, one of your sister, brother, you call it, airwaves, and we will be speaking to the same rights and responsibility. But currently we are not doing anything else besides reaching out to consumers and letting them know. We will also be on some of the social media platforms, so you can go there and get further information about the team and also about your rights and responsibilities as consumers.
And if a consumer has an issue with, you know, having to, as you say, contact the Consumer Affairs Office because they didn't get the right redress when they went to the establishment, how do they contact you? And how does one file a report for you to investigate, and what is the process like?
Okay, you come to our office. You either call our office, you call the financial complex, 639-4412, and our extensions are 51500. That's 51500 to 51507, 51507, 639-4412. You call there and you speak to an officer who is going to guide you further, whether you have to come into our office if you have a valid complaint or not. You come into the office and you will now have a form to fill out, and we will start the investigation from there.
And what are some of the things you have to have in your person to be able to file a valid report?
You must have your receipt for the item that you purchase. That's your proof of purchase that you really purchased that item. You have the the receipt that you purchased of the item you purchased. And you must also would have returned back to, we always advise consumers to go back to where you would have purchased the item before you come to us, because sometimes it might just take a simple conversation with the manager or a supervisor to get some form of redress. So we advise you to do that first. If you're not satisfied with what they're telling you, then you come to us and you fill out the form. We have a form to fill out. You fill that form and you also work with your receipt. We take copies of those and you give us a brief history on the item that you would have purchased, and we use that for our investigation.
All right. And usually, I know sometimes it probably doesn't have a time span in terms of how soon you will be able to get feedback and stuff like that. But what is the average time that a consumer can expect an investigation to be completed, or some type of report or feedback in terms of what is going to happen with their redress?
I can tell you that the officer who is in charge of that area will try to get back to the consumers within a week's time. However, the matter may not be settled in a week's time. We have issues where, unfortunately, quite a lot of let us say the department stores have their head offices in Trinidad. So we would report to them in Tobago, and the matter would take months, years. It's unfortunate. We are hoping that something could be done where Tobago would be treated in a special way by those said business spaces, because you have a branch in Tobago, you're selling the items in Tobago. However, the matter has to be settled in Trinidad. And that could be really frustrating for the consumers. So we are hoping that something could be done in that area.
I hope so too, because it really can be frustrating, having to wait months and sometimes some cases years, and sometimes no result because, you know, of the situation as it were. In closing, is there any other information you'd like to share with our viewers?
I would like consumers to remember that tomorrow is World Consumer Rights Day. Get online, find out what are your rights and what are the responsibilities that goes with that, and see how best we can use those rights to protect and to guide us, and be responsible consumers, and also be assertive consumers. When you know your rights and your responsibility, you become empowered and you are assertive in whatever you are doing in the marketplaces.
All right, thank you so much for coming this morning and giving us all of that information, and of course the comfort that there's an agency who will fight on our behalf as consumers.
Definitely.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Ms. Verdine Williams, Consumer Liaison Officer within the Consumer Affairs Unit of the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy, giving us information. Remember, tomorrow is World Consumer Rights Day, so get in the know your rights, and also know your responsibilities, and bring that balance where that is concerned. We have to go for a short break before we continue conversations this morning, and as we go, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Good morning. I am Lisa Mohammed, Guest Services Supervisor, on behalf of management and all of us here at the Magdalena Grant. Welcome. Also extending to all our leading ladies hardworking on a daily basis a happy International Women's Day.
Tobago, let your voices be heard. The Tobago Special Needs School Committee is inviting you to a series of public consultations on Monday, March 17th, 2025 at the Signal Hill Secondary School and Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 at the Goodwood Secondary School from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Come and dialogue with us as we aim to build a brighter future for Tobago's special needs community. For further details, follow the Facebook page of the Division of Education, Research and Technology.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television. Remember, we're coming to you live from the Magdalena Grand Beach and Golf Resort. And what a beautiful, beautiful atmosphere this morning as we continue to celebrate women far and wide. We've been focusing on women right here in Tobago, the impact they've been making in spite of the challenges that they have faced. And this morning on set with me are two of my colleagues. One represented us yesterday in the house for the special debate, Miss Joshelle Dan. Joshelle taught me things. We're so proud of you for your contribution there yesterday. So tell us a little bit about the experience for you.
All right, good morning and thank you all for having me. The experience. I'm not going to lie and just say that it was enjoyable all the way through because it was a task. It was something that was very difficult, especially balancing duties at work, the stresses of everyday life, and trying to attend all the training sessions. I am a bit of a perfectionist, admittedly. I like things done a particular way, and part of the, some people said that they did not see any nervousness, but I was extremely nervous before I even entered the house yesterday. Part of that was because I felt like I was unprepared. I did not get to go to all of the training sessions, and that contributed to the amount of anxiety that I felt. However, miracles do happen, and I still persevered. I did all the things that I could have done, and I think, honestly, that I executed pretty good.
I think you did, based on all the reviews. And also in studio with me this morning is Lavian. Lavian is also here with us, and you know, I am sure you have your contribution in terms of Joshelle representing women in that space. You know, remember Joshelle started off as an intern with us. My first conversation with Joshelle was as a guest. She was still going to secondary school at the time, and I felt that her presentation and representing the school was just so on point, the confidence, and Joshelle joining the team as well. Tell us a little bit about your experience with how Joshelle kind of maneuvered her way through being a reporter and also representing Tobago Updates as well.
Good. Thank you for that, Adana, and good morning, Tobago Updates family. It's so good to be here. Good morning to Magdalena, and thank you for having us, Joshelle. Adana, it's always good to see younger ones evolve and blossom into where they're going. Life is so unpredictable, and I have always been a jack of all trades, master of none, but only recently I learned the ending of that quote says, but greater than a master of one.
That's right.
And so I've come to appreciate being a jack of all trades, and I want to say to you, Joshelle, do everything. Do everything, girl. Do everything. Say no to nothing. And you would see how much you are going to blossom into a beautiful, you are already beautiful, but a beautiful, well-rounded woman. Because I often say, when we are in our 20s, we think we're a woman. Listen to me, at 37, girl, I am a woman. Like, I am now a woman. Everything feels different, and I do it differently, and I appreciate differently, and every single fiber of my being appreciates everything. So I'm saying to you, do everything. You did a wonderful job yesterday, and really kudos goes out to the Assembly Legislature, because to take an everyday person and to put them in a house that represents them and that they should know represents them, but to get a feel of what that is like. Not only are you opening doors for hopes and dreams and aspirations, but also doing part of that civic duty that says, we are responsible for you, and I want you to know that you could be a part of this and that your voice matters. And that's kudos goes out to the presiding officer and her entire team. But yes, Joshua, congratulations yesterday, girl. You were hitting them for 6.
I even heard a little birdie told me, you said, what's that colloquial term that we use? Put it in your pipe and smoke it. So tell us, where did that come from in terms of your presentation and your
what
conviction?
Was in the pipe?
That's right.
Okay, so the debate was primarily focused on period poverty, and I was on the affirmative side, arguing that government involvement is the key to eradicating that issue. It's quite funny because that part was not scripted. That was from the heart, right? Even though some people told me that I probably went overboard a little bit, but that was part of it. One of the debaters on the other side, who was in the minority, stated that, we were trying to follow other nations, primarily like Scotland and those places, that would have ensured that all their girls and women have access to period products. Because when you're talking about period poverty, we're talking about lack of education, we're talking about lack of utilities, we're talking about the lack of primary understanding and removing all those taboos. And so I told her that if it is as an administration, I could look at those countries and see the progress that they're making in terms of empowering their women and girls, that I do not mind ripping a page out of that book and implementing it here, as that is some form of progress in empowering our women and girls, so that we would not be left behind on that train. And that is when I made that comment, put it in a pipe and smoke it, and then I said, thank you, Madam Presiding Officer, and I took my seat.
Of course, bringing the energy there. And it is so amazing. I really appreciate the topic that they had for discussion yesterday, because sometimes, as you mentioned, some of these topics are taboo. We don't want to talk about them because of embarrassment. And the reason why there's embarrassment is because we don't have the education.
Yeah.
We don't have the knowledge about the situation. And these are practical things that women have to endure when they get to a certain age. And of course, having the education before you get there kind of gives you a handle on how do I manage myself in this situation? Where do I go for resources? Who do I speak to? How do I make myself comfortable being a woman and having these challenges? So of course, again, kudos to the Assembly Legislature for coming up with the idea and of course, this specific topic. And I really do hope that the conversation where that is is concerned will continue, not just in a debate like this, but in the schools, in the school system, take it to the actual house, have conversations and ensure that the people have the infrastructure, as you mentioned, they have the products, they have the tools that will help them through these conversations. And there are so many other conversations that we need to have to remove taboo things like mental health. I know we're celebrating women, but especially men speaking about issues that affect them because people think they're effeminate if they talk about something that's bothering them. Let's talk about the issues that will make people feel comfortable.
And piggybacking on what you said, Adana, yesterday what stood out to me in the debates, one of the debaters, I can't remember if they were for or against, but they mentioned that the Red Cross Society conducted a survey recently, and 49% of the boys within the secondary school system, I believe it was, referred to menstrual cycle as stink, ick, and these boys grow into the men that our young ladies would date and marry, and they would father children. So education, removing the taboos, simple things like picking up a pack of pads, sanitary napkins in the supermarket. It's just like rice.
That's
you know, it's
a necessary
equivalent to rice. Yeah, it is.
And if I could just interject here, I did that research. I was the person who spoke about that taboo.
Nice.
That was something that really stood out to me. And I think MP for Tobago East was
Ayana Webster, right?
Yes. She did an interview on the morning show recently, and she said one of the greatest allies to women's empowerment is a man.
Yes.
And that really stood out to me, and I said, okay, I need to interject that little piece into my presentation yesterday, because at the ending of the day, we as women cannot do it alone. We also need our men to understand that this is an issue, and we should not feel as if we should be carrying this burden alone, especially if they are also partly responsible for it as well.
And you know, I want to jump in there, Joshelle, and for the entire week I've been talking about the role of a man and the role of a woman. And you rightfully said it, we can't do it on our own. No. And I feel as if we understand who we are. If I am a man, what is my role in society? Why do I want to be soft? Why do I want a woman to bring something to the table? If I am a woman, why do I want to be a man? Why do I want to be strong and tough and be able to do it all? Why can't I walk in my feminine energy and allow the man to be the man and let the man allow me to be a woman? And I feel as if we understand our roles in society, then I feel as if there will be some measure of balance that we can all live comfortably. Because I'm telling you, me no want to be no man in a. I do not want to be a man. I don't want to take on the role of a man. And because of how society has been, even the history will show, especially people of our denomination, our race, we have had to be strong because our men did not show up. But is it their fault?
Not necessarily, no.
What have they been exposed to?
We go all the way back to colonialism.
That's right.
Yes,
what have they have been emasculated,
much more layered.
Centuries they have been emasculated, and so they feel as if they have to withdraw. And now the woman has had to become strong because the man is no longer there. He's been taken away from us, and so we had to do this and we had to do that. But hey, our men are here now. So let the men show up as men so that we could show up as women and bring that measure of balance. I want to be nurturing. I want to be pampered. I want to cook for you as a man. I want to do this. I want to do that. But I also want you to show up. I want you to provide and to protect and to profess and to do the things that you're supposed to do so I could comfortably sit back and be me and let us work together in synergy. And I want to know how you feel about that kind of conversation as well, where we are concerned balancing the genders.
Yeah, I definitely would never want to be a woman where progression and evolution would let me lose my feminine self. I have, in recent years, I would say like within the past 5 years, I have discovered the power of my femininity. I'm telling you, I walk through life gracefully and I benefit from the service and the love that I receive from the masculine gender randomly because I embrace my feminine self. You know, but at the same time, I am that boss girl. You know, I manage a staff of 13. I have a small business on the side. I manage my own family. I go to school. I have a lot going on. I am that girl in everything. But when I get home and I relax myself, I am Lavian. I am Lavian, that is feminine, that is soft, that wants to cater and nurture and touch and just be loved on and give that love and that kindness. So I don't ever want progression and evolution to make me lose who I am. And you know, that yin and that yang of masculine and feminine, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced and will continue to experience and will continue to advocate for. No matter where you are in life, ladies, do not lose that softness. It is powerful. Trust me.
It is powerful, and you know, once you experience it, you want to go back to being the strong. Like, I always have to carry this, and I always have to.
No, I don't want to be strong. The heaviest thing I want to lift is my nails and my handbag.
That's right. And you know, sometimes because of the lack of education and the lack of the conversation, the meaningful conversation, and the understanding of our roles, people will say, yeah, you just want a free ride. It's not about a free ride. You see, when you give it to me, I give it to you.
Yeah.
You understand that it's really a cycle. Once we really show up in the way we're supposed to show up.
And appreciate
I could just
yourself.
sit down here for the entire day and just relax.
And
Once I am relaxed, and I could just bring my focus to who I am as a person and the value I bring, I could give you that value.
But there are so many social issues that we need to attend to. I mean, there are the major ones like period poverty and mental health and all of that. But there are social issues like social interaction and as you said, you know, just your position and place within society. But there are so many little things socially that needs to be addressed. Like, you know, even recently I was in Scarborough and a group of schoolgirls were not too far from me and they were so loud. But besides being loud, their language was foul. And I mean, just the way they carried themselves, and that always breaks my heart because I feel like they don't, at that age, that teenage age, they don't get the direction that they need on how to carry yourself, you know. I was young when I learned how you dress tells people how to address you. And even though it is not something that morally is right, we should never address somebody based on how they dress. But it is what is happening in our society. So I get up each day and I make an effort to present myself because I know when I walk into that room, how I'm dressed, that is how they're going to address me. I've had a situation already where I walked into a room with my boss who was female at the time, and they thought that I was the boss because of the way I walk and because of the way I dress and because of the way I speak and articulate and carry myself. So I think there's so many little social things that we need to address with young ladies. And once we address it with them within that formative stage of that teenage years, they are going to be able to blossom into much more well put together and well-rounded young ladies that is going to grow into women that we need to really lift society up and to bring us, because our social fabric is in shreds. I don't know if we realize that. Our social fabric in shreds that will really be able to lift and carry society to where we need to be. And, you know, hopefully make our men a lot more comfortable being in their own skin and being the men that we need them to be and the men that we know that they can be. They have the ability to. So I think that as for women, we should never take for granted our roles and what we could do and the power of our femininity and what it could do, you know, with our men and with our society in general.
Joshelle?
Yeah. Something that I learned a couple of years ago whilst I was in high school is the art of being soft whilst being strong. Not because you're a soft-spoken person does not mean that you cannot draw attention, that you cannot demand your presence, make your presence known. And I think that is something that a lot of young girls need to know, because there's a typical stereotype that the black woman especially, she's loud, she's boisterous, and she's more manly than anything. And I think that is a stereotype that could be broken, because not all black women are that way. And that is something that I have learned. So I know that sometimes I could be a little loud, but on most days I'm pretty soft-spoken and to myself a little bit. But that is something that I think a lot of young girls need to learn. We spoke about the divine feminine and masculine energy, and I think that is something that we need to work on, that synergy between the two.
Yeah, and you know, I just hope the conversation continues, not just when we have an international day of whatever, that we can actually have ongoing conversations 365. Let's talk about men issues. Let's talk about women's issues. Let's talk about boys and girls. And how do we rebuild our communities? How do we get our societies to a place where we want it to be, where we can be proud and say, listen, this is my contribution. I could see the transformation. I could see the reform. I could see a man showing up as a man. And when a man shows up as a man, he is so attractive. I'm just saying. I could see a woman showing up as a woman. And we could be who we were meant to be. And we could make the measure of impact. We could see the globe changing if we really understand and show up in our true essence of who we were meant to be. And we have to go back. I don't know how many of you are Bible believers, but if we go back to biblical principles and see how things were really meant to be, we could have dominance, both men and women. We could have dominance where we are supposed to dominate. Bring the balance and have a good time here on this earth, because God said that we were here to dominate. He gave us dominance. So let me do the things now. Let's get the education. Let's have the ongoing conversations. Let us continue, not just on International Women's Day, not just on International Men's Day, not just on the day of the girl child or the day of the boy child or some special human rights thing. Let's just talk about it all the time. The powers that be, all the agencies across the globe, let us have the conversations that will bring changes in our homes, in our communities, and society at large, so that we can all have better lives and that we can all love on each other. Thank you, ladies, so much for having the conversation with me this morning. I really enjoyed it, and I want us to continue even off air this morning, at some point in time. Thank you, of course, our viewers, for staying with us for the entire week as we went through women's issues. Thank you so much to all of our guests who came on the show from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We really enjoyed the conversation with you, and our special co-host who came on as well to join in the conversation with me, to ask the questions and also to give your view. And of course, we must say thank you to the Magdalena Grand Beach and Golf Resort. Thank you so much for hosting us this morning, for having us here, and for having the beautiful backdrop for our show today. For all of you out there, remember, you are all very, very important. You are special, you are loved, and there is a value on the inside of you. This is where we have to end the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and we're so happy that you stayed with us throughout the entire programming. We will be back on Monday with more conversations, more discussions, more things that you want to hear about, and of course, have your say as well. But for now, do enjoy your weekend. Do enjoy it all. Have a wonderful, wonderful time until we see you again on Monday.